Hi everyone, I'm Jay,
I'm Colin.
and this is Star Wars Conversations. So, how you doing, Colin?
I'm pretty good, thanks, Jay. And today I'm extremely pleased to say that we've got a guest with us.
Tell everyone about
And
our special guest.
right, we are joined today by Simon Mayer, and he is a wonderful artist who does lots of Doctor Who covers for Titan Comics. He works illustrated Star Wars Insider, millions of things. Probably he'd be better off telling us about that than me. So, Simon, hello, how are you?
Very well, thank you, gentlemen. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for
Um,
coming on.
that's all right, no problem at all.
I guess the main thing is you're a big Star Wars fan.
Yeah, huge.
Well,
But
how long have you been in it? Are you a prequels fan, original trilogy? What's your preference?
okay, well, I'll answer that with a slightly daft anecdote.
Right.
I'm not religious at all. In fact, I would call, I'm humanist. I don't have, but I was raised Roman Catholic,
Right.
and when you raised Roman Catholic, you are christened. Then you go through a Holy Communion, and then you are confirmed at around the age of 12, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
At which point you choose a second middle name. So I am Simon Richard Luke.
Are you?
Yes. And the reason I was in the cathedral. I can't remember where because I blanked all of that out of my history. But my mum tells a story of the bishop asking me, "So, Simon, why have you chosen Saint Luke as your confirmation name?" And I literally looked at him like a belligerent, recalcitrant, preteen, and she went, "Skywalker, obviously." Apparently that raised a few smiles. But yeah, I am quite a large fan. But saying that, only really films and the films and extended universe novels really.
So all the what's now classed as Legends novels that everyone...
Yeah, I mean, I've read all of the Jedi Academy, the X-Wing books, which I thought were wonderful because they were just basically like RAF novels but set in space. The whole Yuzhong Vong saga.
Oh, yeah, I love that. Yeah, the New Jedi Order. Yeah,
It was really good at the beginning and it was really good at the end. There are about a dozen books in the middle which I read. But it was good. But
that was long, wasn't it? It really was long.
It went on for ages.
And what about towards when they got towards like the Legacy of the Force and all that type of stuff towards the end, as that sort of reign of novels finished? Did you enjoy how all that went that direction?
Well, I sort of petered out. There was a lot of time where I was unemployed for a while, so I just devoured everything. Sort of Star Wars novels wise, but it sort of ended when the Yuzhan Vong ended. But I will put the original trilogy on. I can watch it over and over and over again. And Raiders of the Lost Ark. If people know if I'm feeling a bit rubbish because Raiders of the Lost Ark is on.
Just that one indie film, or?
Well, I actually like all of them. I don't know.
Even the Crystal Skull
is not that bad.
I like the Crystal Skull.
Yeah, I don't think it's that bad. I mean, it's not. If the other three didn't exist, Crystal Skull would be a good action adventure film. But
it's
unfortunately,
a good action adventure film. Maybe it's not so good of an indie Anna Jones.
Exactly.
Film.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I think I went through a phase of about a year when me and my brother would just quote Star Wars lines to each other and then have to tell the other one the following line from that film. It's insane.
So you basically, you and your brother grew up Star Wars fans.
I've got two brothers. Myself and the youngest, we're sort of quite big Star Wars fans, and then my middle brother's not the right word, but the middle brother is heavily into music. So.
Right. And so then you worked for, you did art for Star Wars Insider. That must have been pretty cool, being a Star Wars fan for all those years, and then getting to do that.
I did 2 issues. I think I did 4 illustrations for them in total. They're on my website, which is prettyfunky.com. I think there's 2 that I haven't put up yet. I don't know if I'm allowed to yet. That's the problem. But
are they newer ones?
I think they were in an issue, but I'm just waiting for confirmation that I can actually put them on my site. I think they've been published. There's no secret. I just need confirmation that I can put them on my site. Yeah, that was amazing. Knowing that my stuff was seen by people at Lucasfilm, and signed off.
Oh yeah,
you know, the little boy in me just.
Oh, I bet. So what happens there then? So do they So when they ask you to do some art from, or when you submit some art, is it because they've got maybe an article coming up about something, they'll give you a brief idea of what's going on? Like, do you get any little scoops or anything ahead of time when this stuff happens? Is what I'm really asking.
Oh God, that would be amazing. I mean, it would be amazing to work. I mean, the dream would be to be in a concept department and, you know, like working on Trixie, which I'm sure you guys know about, you know, being in the concept department of Trixie, because when you work for one of these huge films, the art department creates ideas for everybody else. So you would actually create a scene or character and you throw it at the storytellers and then see if it sticks. So to be in that position, you know, to be one of the guys who, you know, like draws Luke Skywalker in front of an army of AT-ATs, you know, it's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, I went to Star Wars Celebration back in London whenever that was, to about 2016, and they had a panel with the story guys, the art guys. I think is it Jim Chung?
Yes,
yeah. And he was there with his team, and obviously they were telling us exactly how that all works. You know, they come up with brilliant visuals. Doug Chang, not Chang. He's a comic artist.
Sorry, Jim Chang. Jim Chang. Yeah, he's JLA, isn't he? He's just taken over the JLA.
Yes. So yeah, and so they were putting examples up of the images that are painted, which then went to inspire the story. So that was amazing. Yeah,
it was really just wonderful. You know, since Disney have taken over, well, there's art books for all the films, but I've got the art books for the 4 recent Star Wars films, and I just pore over them. They're beautiful. The Solo one that's just been released, written by Phil. I apologise, I'm going to bastardize his name. Sozek, I believe it is. It's just wonderful, you know, and you can see the ideas that have hit and they ran with them, and then the ideas that they're like, okay, that's not quite right, we'll take it in one direction. They're just things.
Sometimes you see some of those ideas later on, don't you, in like another movie or something. So I mean, for you to end up doing some work for Star Wars Insider, that must be a step in the right direction. It's kind of like, you know, you're getting your work to Lucasfilm, and you know what I mean, like, it gives them a chance to get to see what you can do and stuff. Like, how would you go from there to?
That's the trick now, isn't it? Look,
that's the real trick, isn't it?
It did start. What was lovely is this all came bizarrely on the back of Doctor Who, because the Doctor Who lead editor, he knows I'm a big Star Wars fan, and he gave me an email address because Titan they publish Star Wars Insider in the UK. So I emailed them and just said, you know, I'm a massive fan. Is there anything I can do? And within a few weeks, they got back to us and saying, we are illustrating an excerpt of a novel. We're publishing the excerpt of a novel. Would you like to illustrate? And I was like, yeah, that would be absolutely insane. Yes, please. Don't pay me. I'll do it. It's fine. I'll just do it. It was wonderful. Genuinely wonderful.
Tell us a little bit about your work on Doctor Who as well, though, because obviously, I mean, first time I met you, Simon, was at the ICE in Birmingham last year. Yeah. And you know, I saw your obviously I'd seen your Doctor Who covers before, and then, you know, seeing some of the art in person, I was just blown away. So, I mean, how did you get into the Doctor Who comics?
I've always been into comics. I've got a run of Spider-Man, which is about 25 years unbroken. I'll sell comics every now and again when I'm going through a dry patch without any work. But my Spider-Man run is untouched. But it all starts from redundancy. And I know that sounds a bit odd, but I was in a job I hated and they let me go. And then I excuse me, I was like, fuck it. Let's see if I can make a living out of drawing. Because I trained as a graphic designer when actually I should have trained as an illustrator, and I've always been putting off, I can draw, why don't I try and do something with it? A friend of mine invited me to Nottingham Comic Con just to help out. And I was just sitting behind the desk and, eating a Big Mac, having a Starbucks. And John McCrae was there, and I walked over, and he said to me, I was just talking to him. He said, "Oh, so what have you got?" And I had some pictures on my phone and stuff. He said, "What the hell are you doing? Get yourself to Thought Bubble. There will be editors there. There will be people there." And I've been to New York Comic Con a couple of times when I worked in London, and I loved it. But I apologise for this, but I always thought British conventions were for the, were quite as sophisticated. Right. So I avoided them, but Thought Bubble's something different. Thought Bubble's astonishing. And he said, "Go along." So I knew Titan had just got the Doctor Who license. I did a couple of pieces. I did an Amy Pond and a Clara Oswald. Showed them, and a few months later, I'd got the covers. It was that simple. But I think it's because I've spent the best part of 40 years drawing people. I love drawing people, and I love getting that likeness right. And I love that feeling that you'll be working on something, and then all of a sudden, that's one flick of a brush stroke, and there's a crease in the eye or a jawline, and you're like, okay, that's the person.
Did you spend a lot of time doing life drawing?
I used to, right? And I actually should get back into it, but I just draw people.
Right. Jenny and I are failed artists. We both met at art college.
where we ended up having to do the stupid graphic design course when we wanted to do illustration.
We did, yeah. So we ended up not doing art at all. But
well, actually, we used to sit there and draw like comic booky kind of stuff. Yeah. And the teachers used to go, "Comic books aren't art."
Yes. Yeah.
The hell.
Well, I got a similar thing because my even though my dad's not, but the rest of my family are all in education. And when I was growing up, the route was GCSEs, A-levels, degree, and then it was like you need to be on a career path. And I think the worst thing that ever happened to me was staying on to do my A-levels, when actually what I should have been doing is some sort of vocational job that meant I was drawing.
Yeah.
Wow. And even I signed on to my degree, which was, when I signed on to it, illustration and design. And then there was a reshuffle of the department, and it became information design. So it was purely graphics and purely information.
This sounds familiar.
Yeah. So
it sounds very familiar.
And the problem is when you're 19 and you've just got a new girlfriend who you've just met, and you've just got this new group of friends, and your student loans come in, you just want to get drunk all the time. So you don't want to move again. No. And actually, what I should have done is gone, this isn't the course I signed up for. I should be drawing, but these things happen. I'm not going to say they happen for a reason, but you live and learn. That's the motto, I think.
And you do lecturing as well, don't you now? So.
I teach Adobe software Illustrator because I worked in London for a few years. I was designing T-shirt graphics for the likes of Topman and Burton and Adidas. And I know Illustrator inside out. So a friend of mine asked me, could I help him out? And then the university said, okay, well, there's too many people on this specific course. Will you do another module? So it's only 2 hours a week. It's great. Coventry University.
Right.
Just for the listeners, I just have to mention that Simon has the biggest mug of tea I've ever seen. Is that a pint or what?
I think it's a pint and a half. I think it's not little. Yeah, hold on. Okay, right. I've got an iPhone Plus.
Wow.
Yeah,
that's a big cup of tea.
Yeah. But I can't drink. I have to drink decaf out of it. If I drink caffeinated tea out of it, I'm wired. Sitting in my chair shaking.
when you disappear in a minute to the loo, we'll know exactly what's happened.
Yeah.
So, well, that was really interesting. Thanks, Simon, for giving us a bit of background about what you've been doing. But let's get into some proper Star Wars chat, shall we? Before we get into any news and stuff, one thing, this was really what started the conversation about getting you on the podcast, was all the hate and grief that's going around between Star Wars fans and the Kelly Marie stuff. And Simon started a hashtag, I am a Star Wars fan, was quite vocal about being positive. Do you want to tell us a bit more about what was going through your mind at the time, Simon?
Well, I mean, in all honesty, as big as a Star Wars fan I am, apologies, and I'm sorry this is going to hurt. At the end of the day, they are stories. They are films and they are books. And George Lucas created a fictional universe. Mm-hmm. I love it, and I can immerse myself in it all day. And yes, there are things in there I don't like too strong, but there are stuff in there that I would like to see, or that because I've grown up with these characters, and there's stuff in there that I think, oh, that's maybe not a decision I'd make if I was making the film. But the thing is, I didn't make the film. Yeah. Someone, for example, Rian Johnson, spent 3 to 4 years immersed in it, making, in my opinion, a wonderful film that tells people or the message is, don't be, this is the message I got from it, don't be so hung up on the past that you can't accept change. That's what I got from The Last Jedi, and it's wonderful. But just because there are so many people out there who are like, well, there are women in there now who have got agency and can do stuff like men do. You're like, but that's the real world. And also the whole thing. I mean, I would love to have seen Luke Skywalker himself, not a Force projection, on Scarif. I'd have loved to have seen that.
Yeah.
But I get it. I get why it was done as a story, and I get the fact that because he Force projected halfway across the galaxy, it shattered it. I get it. I understand why they did it. But they're stories, they're films, and you have to admire the effort that these people have put into it. And of course, the young actor, her name escapes me, I apologize.
Kelly Marie Tran.
Kelly Marie Tran. She was an actress employed to make a character. She actually didn't make any of those decisions.
No.
So I find it a little bit abhorrent. It's sickening, to be fair, that we are meant to be fans who love and embrace a property, yet when that property doesn't meet our expectations, we then bully the last link in the chain. Not even a person who's responsible for making the decisions.
Well, a lot of people gave her. I mean, when they attacked her, there's a lot of racial hate and stuff like that, and sexism. And here's the thing, right?
Yeah.
As you said, they are stories. They are, movies, right?
Yeah.
And it's okay to not like a movie or not like a character or not like the way that something's portrayed. That's fine. Just because it says Star Wars doesn't mean you have to like everything. But at the end of the day, these people go in. They do. They don't sit there and create a movie and go, you know what, let's make this one suck. That doesn't happen. Everyone's trying to make the best movie they can. And every actor going in there, just like an artist, wants to do the best work they can so that when people see it, they're like, oh, I love that, then you're going to get more work, right? So she never went in there trying to make you hate the Rose character. Whether or not you do, I wasn't a big fan of the Rose character. I had nothing against her as an actor, but the character didn't work for me. Whether or not you do is neither here nor there, but you don't need to attack her personally, because, as you say, she didn't decide how the character was going to play out or anything like that. She was given direction, and to go after someone, and especially the things that they then go after is like being absolutely horrendously racist to her. And then looking, body shame her and all that kind of stuff. I mean, the girl, has her own Instagram account and all that stuff. So it got to the point where she's had to take down all her social media. I mean, imagine yourself on your social media being hounded to the point where you're like, I can't take this anymore. I just can't face seeing this every single day, all the time. It's just craziness.
And I think the sad thing is that this, it's not just this one instance, is it? I mean, when John Boyega was cast, there was a lot of racial hate about that, and that stormtroopers can't be black and things like that. I guess where I come from on this whole thing is, obviously the whole thing's bad, but what I find personally annoying is that as a Star Wars fan, I feel that I can't say something bad now about Star Wars because straight away I'm then being tarred with all these other horrible Star Wars negative people. You can't just say, like, if I said now, I didn't enjoy. I'm in the same camp as Jay. I didn't really like the character Rose. I didn't like what the story went with Rose and Finn, and I would quite happily hope they would reverse that if there was some way of doing it. But to say that now, you're almost being tarred now with these other people that and I don't want that. And I've seen people put posts up saying, I'm ashamed to be a Star Wars fan. And what really gets me with that is it's not, these people aren't being ashamed of being a Star Wars fan. They're ashamed of being associated by that thing.
But there's a fundamental difference to the way you guys have approached it to what you read, is the fact that both of you said, I wasn't enamoured by the character and I wasn't enamoured by the story. At no point are you criticising the actress. You're criticising choices that were made. Or it's not even criticism. It's just like that particular storyline didn't work for me.
Resonate with us.
Didn't resonate with us.
As an actress, she did a great job.
Yeah,
right?
but that's
crying and all that. Sorry.
Yeah, sorry, I was just going to say, but that's completely different, and it's actually fair. What you guys are saying are fair. This didn't resonate with me. I would have done it differently. That's fair.
Yeah.
But the attacking of an individual is fundamentally bullying.
It is bullying, and that's the thing. And as fans, and not just Star Wars fans, any movie fan, you can debate and talk about things that you liked and that you didn't like, and it's not like you're not insulting a person. You're not going after them personally just because you didn't like maybe their performance in movie A, but then you saw them in something else. Actually, but in that they were really good. And I like that. That's fine. You can do that stuff. And these people again. And then the thing that's bad about it as well, and it's something because this is all happening in the current time, right? And you go back over the years, and I said last week that I remember going to any Star Wars kind of convention or anything. There was always this sort of real feeling of connectivity between fans. We're all Star Wars fans together. We're all friends automatically. Black, white, whatever. Everyone, gay, straight, woman, whatever. Everyone just got on because we all like Star Wars. And now it's like...
Apart from Star Trek fans, we didn't want them in.
Course, but that's kind of tarnishing it a little bit, right? And then you look at people like the 501st Legion and the kind of work they do with charities and, all the good that you got from Star Wars fans. And there's always a really wholesome and loving feeling. And that is turning to the dark side.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's like it's being tainted and it's horrible. It shouldn't be like that.
No.
And because at the end of the day, as you said, they are just films.
Yes.
As much as we love them, they are just films.
Yeah.
So that's why I liked your positive message, Simon. You were trying to put out there. I am a Star Wars fan. Let's try and get over, because I think this is also because the media are playing it up so much as well. Hooking on to this story that Star Wars fans are being so horrible to everyone. It isn't going away, is it? And I think potentially it could get worse. There's a bit of hate being directed at old Kathleen Kennedy, and and all these rumours that we talked about last week. That she's going to be gone by September and all this stuff. I can see it happening. That things are going to get personal about her soon. Which is.
Well, I can't remember who wrote it, and it was either Jason Latour or Jason Aaron. One of them, Mark, comic book writers, and they were like
Southern bastards.
Yeah, it was. yeah. But it was. I read a tweet which I thought was incredibly apt. Children who grew up with the original trilogy all of this hatred seems to be those people that grew up with the original trilogy, because the new films aren't capturing the lightning in a bottle for them that the films did, the original trilogy did when they were 10, 11, 12.
Yeah.
Well, of course, it's never going to do that because you're not 12.
No.
You know, they say the best year of any the best year for any sci-fi is 12.
Really?
Your favourite film is the one that you watched when you were 12. So it's, but I get it. The reason that people vilified The Last Jedi, the reason, I mean, Rogue One had its detractors, and the reason Solo's, it's because people are expecting to feel like they did when they're 12, because it says Star Wars on the box. It's not going to happen. No. You're in your 40s. It's not going to happen.
The Solo one, actually, I just don't get it, because people are not watching it. Yeah, I did too. People are not watching it because I didn't like The Last Jedi. It's a different movie. Like,
and so completely different people making it as well.
I mean, you know, like, we've had a whole bunch of movies, and if you don't like one, it doesn't mean you won't like the other. You know what I mean? So what's going on there? And I've watched Solo. I think I watched it 3 times or something.
Wow, it was wonderful.
And I really enjoyed it. Yeah. I need to go see it again, actually. But I thought it was great.
I've only seen it once. So I want to see it again, Jay.
I would like. I have to. I have to go and see films a second time by espionage, so I can't announce on a social media platform that I'm going to see Solo again, and my girlfriend would lynch me. So, I mean, she's almost okay with me buying the DVD. But you've seen it at the cinema. Yes, I know I've seen it at the cinema, but now I've got the Blu-ray. I can watch it again.
I like, multiple times
without having to pay for it over and over again.
But I mean, you know, so again, it wasn't like, you know, the perfect movie or anything, but it was great fun. You know, it was great fun. It was what you see. It's what you want from a Star Wars film. It was great action. It was adventure. You know, the story was all right. There was bits that, again, I didn't like the Madame Proxima bit that much, but the rest of it I really liked. You know, there's a few little jokes there, like inside jokes. There's a couple a bit on the nose, but you know, overall, I thought it was good fun. And then there was a nice reveal at the end, which was good.
That was wonderful. And, that was wonderful.
Well, while we're talking about this, shall I give you a quick fist of theory?
You got to say it though.
Okay, fist of theory. So my new theory today this week's theory is that Rey's mum is Kira and her dad is Darth Maul. Because, right?
But,
okay. The reason is,
sorry,
the time would work, but still.
No, why wouldn't it?
Because it's set like fucking like. So, the Force Awakens is like 34 years after Return of the Jedi.
Right, Return of the Jedi is 15 years after Solo, I think.
Yeah,
so that would make, if Rey was born 9 months after that film, that would make her 50.
Yeah, but Kira could have had that at the same time Han and Leia had Kylo quite easily, couldn't she?
And where's her horns then?
Well, maybe Maul's not the dad, but I'm imagining now, right, that Kira really just gets drunk all the time after this film. Maul, especially when Maul goes a bit crazy, they just get drunk all the time, and they're really bad parents. And so when Kylo had that vision and said, "Oh no, your parents are just drunken wasters," he was actually thinking of them. And
right. Can I add another little? I don't know what the word is.
Twist.
Banner. Yeah. You do know that the lower half of Maul is robotic.
Yes.
Oh. All right. Maybe it's
destroyed that theory.
Well, what about? Here you go. She kept some of Solo's cum in a jar.
She wears it around her neck.
And then after the Battle of Jakku, when things had calmed down, she thought, right, now it's time to have a baby.
Do you know what? That's not a bad theory, because she could be Solo's, just not Leia's.
Yeah, that's my because that was my original theory, and then I realised that actually he was with Leia at the time. But that doesn't mean anything, does it? No. I guess. But she could have his DNA, and who knows how they can reproduce in the Star Wars world. A bit of a chuck it in a back to tank and give it a shake, see what happens.
Awesome.
Well, sorry, we heard it here first.
Yeah, so if that happens,
I genuinely sort of I liked the fact that every decision we thought was made in the Last Jedi, in the Force Awakens, was thrown on its head in the Last Jedi. I liked the fact that you had no idea where it was going. I thought it was considering you've got millions of Star Wars fans around the world, and they've all written it in their head.
Oh yeah,
and then Rian Johnson goes, actually no, for Rey to go, I'm not involved in this. It's just bad luck that I'm involved. There's no ancestry or hereditary. Hereditary, that's not the right word. But there's no ancestry involved. There's no lineage involved. It's just me. For him to do that, I thought was really brave storytelling.
But then, after all of the changes that he made to what we'd all written in our head, what kind of job does that create for JJ going into episode 9?
But to be in that position, but to be in that position is ace. For him to then go, look what you've left me. It's basically a blank slate. He could go anywhere with it.
I actually think that he's probably quite involved and had a good idea of it.
Yeah,
way in advance. Yeah, I mean, and even like when they were doing The Force Awakens, I mean, Rian Johnson was on set quite a lot. They discussed all this, so they already had the direction lined up pretty much.
Because that's it's just that's the scene where you've been waiting 2 years to see what Luke Skywalker says to Rey, and then he just throws the lightsaber over his shoulder. No one was predicting that. Even the hardiest Star Wars fan would never have seen that coming.
Even Mark Hamill.
Brilliant.
Yeah. But doesn't that sort of say though that possibly isn't the right way? I mean, I know no one saw it coming, and there's nothing wrong with I like a surprise as much as anyone else, but I generally didn't feel that was what he would have done, right. And I think that, and I agree with you in many. When I first saw the film, I loved Last Jedi, and I agree with you. I like the idea of him turning it on its head, not giving the fans what they expected. Really, and I agree, and I also agree with the whole point around Rey. She definitely doesn't need to be related to anyone to be a key character, but what over time I've begun to feel is, even though that's a great smart move that Ryan did, now that I'm left with actually
we are experiencing technical difficulties. Please stand by.
Yeah, so we lost the internet, and so Colin was just saying about Rey not needing to be anyone.
Oh yeah, was I?
Yeah. Down.
Yeah. So, well, my point was, and I eloquently said it, and now I'm not going to eloquently say it, was that I wanted something. I'm just disappointed now that certain things haven't turned out the way I wanted to be. I get that they worked for the story at the time, and and as a filmmaker and that kind of thing, I'm not getting into whether or not Rian Johnson's any good, but what I've been left with is the repercussions of the decisions he made to make that film. He's singularly thinking of that film, but I've got the repercussions now for the rest of Star Wars, and nothing's going to make up for me not getting Grandmaster Skywalker that I've known from the Legends books, and that sort of hero return, and Luke, what I hoped would be Luke leading the charge, and and like I say, I really like the way that they, what he did. The only thing I can really criticise the Last Jedi for was the Canto Bight time, because it just, to me, didn't make sense as part of the film. But apart from that, you know, what he did with Luke and that worked as a film, and I enjoyed watching it. It just, to me now, has damaged what potentially moving forward. But I love Rey. Rey is a brilliant character. I love her journey still, and ultimately Rey's in a place that I'm happy with. And so, if you think about it now, where, you know, when Jay earlier on was saying about, you know, what's JJ got left to do, actually, I think there's, you know, there is a blank slate, but there's still Poe, Rey, and Finn, who I think of a new holy trilogy for Trinity for
and they're
all
very likable as main characters.
Yeah, and they're all great characters, and like I say, we haven't seen them three work together in a film yet, you know, as a group. So I think there's a lot to happen in episode 9, and personally, I'm hoping it's going to do a bit of a time jump, and possibly to after the passing of Princess Leia. Yeah, and actually we're going to see them have built a new rebellion. Kylo, again, so the other issue for me with Last Jedi was just Kylo was played a little bit too weak. But I'm happy that that's seen as a journey, and that in the next film he's moved on and he has now become a complete badass and owner of the First Order. I was disappointed what they did with Hux, so I thought they made him a bit of a comedy.
They made him comic relief, didn't they? Really?
Yeah, but and they, you know, when you've got Eddie in there, Eddie Hitler in there, you don't need someone else to be comic relief.
Well, I think there's a couple of things that I think you've hit the nail on the head, and there are lots of people who are Star Wars fans, and I'll politely say this, they live their lives vicariously through genre TV, genre literature, and genre films. And like you've just said, Colin, is the film didn't quite live up to your expectations, and indeed didn't quite meet the story that you'd written in your head.
Yeah.
Now, we all have other lives, we all have families and partners and friends, but there are people out there who don't have that and live this stuff. That's not to say I don't, you know, wear Batman underpants when I'm not wearing my Millennium Falcon ones, but to see a film and not have it go in exactly the direction that I thought it was going to go hasn't broken my heart. You know, it's. But I think there are people out there that it has, and it actually is quite traumatic. I was lucky enough, I got to see it with a 10-year-old, and just to watch him and just his eyes open and just his jaw hanging, and, you know, it was just a wonderful experience.
It gives you a little bit of your childhood enjoyment.
Exactly, yeah. But there are people who were expecting to be transported back to that 10-year-old watching the film. It's not going to happen. No. As much as I would love it to happen, it's not going to happen. But yeah, I think Rian Johnson did a good job. The Rey thing's wonderful, and that's the whole point, isn't it? This is Rey's story. These are new stories to move forward, and this is Rey's story, and I think that's the point. I'll stop talking
now. I did want to just know, what do you think about Leia? Like, would you like to see her recast, or would you like to see it skip past and it's like, oh, she's dead?
Do you know what? I haven't really given it much thought, but there was a rumour of Meryl Streep taking on the role.
That's what I want.
And I thought that was a great idea.
She's good friends with her in real life.
Yeah, apparently so, yeah. You don't recast Leia as someone who looks like her, you know? If you're recasting Leia, you cast her with arguably the greatest actress of our generation.
Yeah.
And it would be astonishing. And I don't think anyone would have an issue with
someone that could do justice to the character.
Yeah, exactly.
Because, you know, Carrie Fisher put so many years' work into this character. Let's finish her story for her with...
Yeah, definitely.
I
had a suggestion, Simon, that...
you would play...
well, almost as good as me, Whoopi Goldberg.
I thought,
you know, you don't want someone who looks like her. You want someone slightly different.
Yeah.
And I thought, you know, if they can do it in the Harry Potter plays, you know, then there's no reason why you can't, just get over the fact that she doesn't look like her. Let's just concentrate on that's the character.
There's a lovely. I was reading about J.K. Rowling's reaction to the casting. Is it the Cursed Child? That's the play? I think
that's right. Yeah.
And she was saying it's genius because at no point had they mentioned race in the book. They just said Hermione.
Crazy hair.
Crazy hair. Yeah. And that's that. And she was like, it's genius.
I noticed you've got the books right next to you there.
I've got some. What you can't see. Wait, what can you see? What you can't see is I've got 2 bookcases here.
Oh wow, yeah.
And then I've got 4 more in my living room because this is my spare bedroom that I work in. Mm-hmm. But there's a whole row of
Star Wars books. It looks like.
Yeah, so I've got what is it? Well, there must be about 40 or 50.
Cool.
Star Wars novels down there. And there are, in that corner, there's 6 long boxes of comics in that corner. There's another couple in the lounge. Yeah, I'm a bit of a geek, but most of my bookcases are art books. So.
And we can see BB-8 looking over your shoulder there as well.
Yeah. What else is in here?
Yours is bigger than mine.
and my BB-8.
Boom boom!
Hey.
Try the fish. Right. So I tell you what. While we're talking about weird choices in films, this is a tenuous link. Jay, do you want to mention that story that's been going around about Lucas and his weird vision for what he would have done with the films?
Yeah, so George Lucas appeared on James Cameron's series The Story of Science Fiction recently, and obviously they talked about Star Wars and what would have been if George Lucas had held on to the property, and so he started off by sort of saying, everyone hated it when we started talking about midichlorians in The Phantom Menace. And he goes...
he sounded a bit bitter on that, didn't he?
Oh, he really does, yeah. But
I've not seen it. It's meant to be wonderful.
Yeah, it's better than Attack of the Clones.
Oh, sorry, I was talking about the interview.
Oh, right.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
But yeah, it is better than Attack of the Clones. I can't argue with
that. So he says... the next 3 films, I'm not going to go and read the whole interview. It's there. It's on StarWarsNewsNet.com at the moment.
Okay.
It says the next 3 Star Wars films, we're going to get into the microbiotic world. And it's this world of creatures that operate differently than we do. I call them the Wills, which obviously we've all heard of the Wills. It goes, the Wills are the ones who actually control the Force. They feed off the Force.
They married the Kates.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then he said, so he goes in a bit further and he says, if I had held on to the company, I would have done it, and then it would have been done. Of course, a lot of fans would have hated it, just like they hated The Phantom Menace and everything. But he has to go back to it, right?
Yeah.
The whole story would have been told from beginning to end, but it's not going to happen now.
So they what was nice, there was a nice nod to Guardians of the Whirls in Rogue One, which I thought was great.
Yeah.
I genuinely remember this because The Phantom Menace was released the day I should have graduated. But I didn't graduate. I had to retake a module. So I was watching The Phantom Menace the day I graduated.
Excellent.
And the day I graduated, all my classmates were, getting their degrees and stuff, and I was in the cinema watching Star Wars. I'm not sure who had the best day. But there was a point as soon as Qui-Gon Jinn starts talking about midichlorians, to me, it felt like all the romanticism, all of that Arthurian legend, all of that wonderful mysticism that we didn't quite know what the Force was, and you have to be incredibly special to be able to access it. Yeah. It was almost like, I've got to explain the magic. It's like a magician showing you how his trick's done, and it deflated me slightly. So what was lovely is when Luke gave Rey the speech about reach out. And she puts her arm out. That was wonderful. And then he says, okay, so what can you feel? And okay, what's in between it all? And she just says, a force. Yeah, that was lovely. That's those few lines.
Is that them trying to retcon it?
Yeah, but that's what Qui-Gon Jinn should have said to Anakin.
Yeah,
it was a lovely way of describing it.
Definitely.
But that still sticks with me to this day. It's like, you've killed it. He hasn't killed it, obviously.
There was a lot of trying to explain things, because one of the ones that I didn't like, and I just mentioned Attack of the Clones, was when you first watched Star Wars as a kid, and when Obi-Wan says to Luke, I fought in the Clone Wars.
Yeah.
Right. The Clone Wars in my mind was like, whoa, what are the Clone Wars? It's like, what is this? Like this battle that happened, like this massive war, and it's you create.
Yeah.
Because of and they do it with a lot of things, because obviously we talk about Solo, and a lot of people are like, Solo didn't need to be made. It didn't need to be made. I enjoyed it. It didn't need to be made, but there's a lot of taking the mystique away. And
well, they did tell you how he got his name. That was that's the one thing which just really didn't need.
That was properly forced. You didn't need that. You didn't need that. But it's like there's. I was listening to a podcast from a Marvel writer called Matt Fraction, and he was saying that the problem with Lucasfilm at a certain time was the need to explain everything. And he says the epitome of that is the first scene in The Last Crusade, where in 3 minutes you learn how Indy gets his hat, gets his whip, gets the scar on his chin, and is afraid of snakes. And it's 3 minutes.
Yeah.
In the first 10 minutes of Last Crusade, and it's 3 minutes. And you don't actually need to know any of that. It's a stronger character not knowing,
And most characters are.
Like,
but that's how they've ruined Boba Fett. That's how they've ruined.
When you go to Jango Fett, didn't really need to see that, because again, and it's one of those situations where the expanded universe books kind of did it better. And they just made Boba Fett more of a badass, whereas in this it's like, oh, you're just a clone of that guy, and now obviously we're going to get a Boba Fett movie.
It's James Mangold who's been tipped.
Yes,
is that right?
Which that's good. I want it to be after Jedi. I want him to crawl out of the Sarlacc.
That'd be amazing.
Like in Tales from Jabba's Palace, the book. There's a story where Boba Fett escapes and Dengar nursed him back to health. And I want that now. This is where I'm going to become disappointed, right? Because that ain't happening. But I'm expecting that, this is a character who was best because he was this guy in this armor. He's meant to be the best bounty hunter. He answers back to Vader. Vader picks on him, so no disintegrations. Yeah. And it's like, who is this guy? Who is he? He's so cool. Yeah. He didn't do anything, but he's cool, right? And this is how you just tear these characters apart.
Yeah.
We don't need to know everything. Even like Obi-Wan, I don't really need to know what he was doing on Tatooine. He was there to look out for Luke and train. That's it.
I'm with you on all of that. A strong character does not need a reason for everything. No. Like we don't need to see Batman's parents killed again on camera. We really don't need to see that.
No, we know what happened.
Yeah, it's Marvel made that amazing decision with Homecoming. We didn't need to see the origin of Spider-Man again. But I think that's one of the reasons why Attack of the Clones is so derided. For the 20 years that the trilogy had been out, and then Phantom Menace, the lightsaber was a thing of mystique. In the Phantom Menace, admittedly, there's a few Jedi, but we only ever see two at a time fighting, a Master and a Padawan. And then in the original trilogy, it's only one Sith and one Jedi at a time. So these laser swords become a thing of mystique. In Attack of the Clones, they are everywhere.
There's like hundreds.
And you've got kids waving them around.
Like everyone's got these things.
These little kids waving them around as if they're trying to hit a piñata within 2 feet of each other, and you're thinking there's going to be an incredible health bill at the end of this testing. It's insane, and I think that's what killed there's no mystique. There's a little bit of mystique with the Phantom Menace. You're still, the Jedi are still.
Who is Darth Sidious?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, even more than that. I mean, the Phantom Menace. You know, I watched it 11 times in opening week, right? And what it was for me, and this is the best bits, was the bit of Darth Maul in the desert.
Yeah.
And then the 2-on-1 versus the Sith Lord, right?
Yeah.
Who's got a double-edged lightsaber for, first time you ever see him. Now they're everywhere, double-edged lightsabers.
Yeah.
He's not special anymore. Because that was the thing. He was special because he's the only dude that had that. Now loads of people use them. They're not special. But, it's like, how cool was he? He's taking on 2 Jedi, right? Qui-Gon, one of the best swordsmen in the Jedi Order, and his Padawan, Obi-Wan, who we know, right? And this guy's kicking their ass for the most part. That was a great fight. And so, coming back to Star Wars after all those years, there was all the things, Jar Jar and all that, but the bits like that were great. And again, they held that mystique because, this guy, you didn't see him, he just appeared in a hologram, and then he was in his robes, and, you didn't know anything about him. They did something good there. And then, of course, when they went to the cartoons, they went from him being like this Sith warrior into this posh guy. I don't know what happened there, but and then we went to Dooku, which for me was a downgrade. I saw him as like, guy with old guy with a beard.
It is. I think it's that there was an issue with Lucas wanted everything explained, and that's the wonderful thing about the original trilogy is the world that he built just by the odd sentence here or there. You said, just to say, my father didn't fight in the Clone Wars. He was a navigator on a spice freighter. That sentence, your brain just goes, what's a spice freighter? What was the Clone Wars? This is amazing. But you don't need to see it. It was wonderful world building.
Well, it's like when you meet someone that, you don't know, and then you get on quite well. I don't know your life story. I don't need to know. We get on well, right? And that's it, right? So that's how the movies are. I don't need to know the backstory. This works. It's all going good. Let's go with that, And
it's like it's like the new Bond films. I really want the next Bond film, Danny Boyle's Bond film, to revert back to there's an issue. Let's give Bond a mission. Let's get him to solve it. End of film. Because the last 4 have all been tenuously connected, and they've really tried to retcon a connection. Don't need it. Just send Bond on a mission and bring him home. That's it. That's all I want to see.
That's what he's for.
That's what he's for. Yeah. It's But the lightsaber thing, the hundreds of lightsabers in Attack of the Clone is just weird. Just genuinely weird.
Also, at this point, Colin, you've said that it's almost like whenever they get something new that's popular, they try to force it down your throat.
Like Grey Jedi seem to be the thing. So they've appeared in comics, Rebels, in the novels, that everywhere now. Grey Jedi. But I mean those lightsaber things. Even non-Force users use them. You've got Grievous, you've got the Inquisitors that use lightsaber. It's mad. Yeah. I can see we're sort of getting on for a bit of time, but one other element of Star Wars I want to talk to you about, Simon, since you're a big comic guy. What do you think of the Star Wars comics, especially sort of the new ones, the Marvel ones?
I haven't read all of them, but I've been reading a bit of. I read Star Wars. The Jason Aaron run was wonderful. It just felt like Star Wars. It was brilliant. And the few issues that he wrote with Stuart Immonen are astonishingly beautiful. They are wonderful, absolutely wonderful. I'm really struggling with. There's an artist called Salvador Lagorca who's taken over at the moment, and he's wonderful. He's great, but whoever's colouring his work, his likenesses are astonishing. But it's like they've got standard comic book figures, and then placed a still from the film on the faces.
Oh, you said this.
And it throws you. It actually throws you out of the comic.
It's because that's themes you recognise as well. Yeah. That classic moments from the films.
Yeah. And it throws you because you're like, oh, Han's saying that to Luke, but actually that Han was in Jabba's palace, and that Luke was when he was talking to Kenobi on Tatooine, it throws you out of the comic. It's really difficult to explain.
Yeah, it's not sequential art. It's not telling a story. It's as you say, just really great likenesses.
Yeah,
plastered in. Our big bugbear for the Marvel run of comics has been that so much of it has been set between Star Wars and Empire Strikes Back.
There's no time for it all.
I know, it's everything's being squeezed in there, and they're starting to move out of that zone. But personally, I really love the Darth Vader comics. I think they've been really good. Both Kieran Gillen's run and now Charles Soule's writing run have been really good. Unfortunately, there's a lot of Salvador Larroca on Kieran's run, but they've been.
But it wasn't as bad. It wasn't as bad in Kieran's run.
That's because it was Vader. And characters mostly that weren't the stars of the film. You know, they were different characters like Afro and that kind of stuff. So, like I say, he wasn't relying on having to draw likenesses. It was thing. But yeah, I think the comics have been all right. And like I say, they're starting to edge towards The Last Jedi, and now all the new stuff's going to be potentially set between Return of the Jedi and Force Awakens. That's what the rumor is. So that should be good.
Well, that's where the Jon Favreau's TV series is going to be set.
Yes.
Is it 5 years after Jedi? Is that right?
I think so. Yeah.
I think it's something like that. Yeah. Which I'm quite looking forward to that.
Right.
I think that Favreau I think he could do quite a good job on Star Wars. I know he's been a long time fan and that. And I mean, hey, he did Iron Man good. He did good work on Jungle Book, I thought.
And Cowboys and Aliens, he knocked it out of the park.
Well, I didn't actually mind that. It's not a great movie. I kind of enjoyed it, as just a watch. But it kind of shows that he can sort of do a whole few different types of genres and that.
I'll be honest. The first 2/3 are wonderful. It is wonderful. It feels like a slightly off kilter. Well, it is a western, but it is slightly off kilter. You can't quite place what's wrong with it.
Yeah.
And then it suddenly detours. But the tropes are wonderful. The classic western tropes are wonderful. But yeah, I mean, Favreau's astonishing. Iron Man's wonderful. The Jungle Book is wonderful. So I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah.
And of course, he was the pilot in Solo.
Yeah,
which
he was.
The name was completely gone, and I've just been reading the book, the Solo book as well.
Yeah, I can't remember the name either. Oh, yeah, that's cool. That is cool. What about games? You play Star Wars games, Simon?
If I have any free time, I'm drawing. I don't even own a console. Sorry, Colin. I apologise for breaking your heart again.
That's right.
After Ryan Johnson did it with The Last Jedi, but I don't own any consoles. My apologies.
That's all right. It's all right. I can get by because EA have announced a new Star Wars game coming out in 2019 called Jedi Fallen Order, and it's going to be set after Order 66, and it's going to be a story following a Jedi basically on the run, being hunted down. And it sounds like it's actually just going to be a story. It doesn't sound like it's going to be one of these crazy games that it's got no end and that kind of stuff. It actually has got a finite story. So have you heard about it, Jay? Your face is not a happy face, Jay.
No, I did see about it, but I mean, you know how I feel about Star Wars games. I don't really trust them. So
you don't trust EA.
I don't trust EA, and that's the problem. So I'm going to wait until a few people have bought it and see what they think. There's a couple of Star Wars games coming out, aren't there? So there's that one, and then there's the open world one. Is that right?
No, that is the open
world one. Okay. So is that the one then that we've already seen the little clip of the?
That was all scrapped. That was completely scrapped.
Okay.
Yeah.
That one looked quite good.
So the only thing I will say about this game is they announced it at the big EA Games convention last weekend, but they didn't have anything to show, not even like a logo or anything for the game. Makes me think they might have just made it up to say something.
And also, EA like to make a lot of money out of people, so throughout the course of the game, going to be like a ton of microtransactions to get, a bunch of crap. So I don't know. I hope that they would do something good with it. It would be nice, but I'm not excited about it. The problem is, Colin plays Battlefront. I played the first one, and then I went and got the second one when it came out because they came out going, oh, we fixed all the problems from the first one. I played it for about 3 weeks and got bored of it, and I think the thing I took away from it is if they release or announce Battlefront 3, I won't spend my money. So,
okay. Well, I don't think you've got any danger of them releasing a Battlefront 3 for a while. And they, to be honest, I'm still playing Battlefront 2. I still really enjoy it. They also announced this week Season 3 for Battlefront 2, which is going to be the Clone Wars. They've announced that they're going to have new heroes available, General Grievous,
lots of
Count Dooku, Obi-Wan, and Anakin, so they're all going to be playable heroes. You are going to have to buy them with credits, in-game credits. And they're going to have a new map, Geonosis, which is going to be the biggest map they've ever had.
And the most lightsabers.
And they're bringing in a new game mode, which is similar to the Conquest mode from the original Battlefront games, the old PS2 games.
Oh, you mentioned that last week, yeah.
So, to be honest, I thought Battlefront 2 was dead, and I've got a little bit of hope that actually they're resuscitating. This week, the update came for the game, and you got the second half of Season 2, the solo season, which gave us the Kessel Mines map and the new extraction game mode and some tweaks to the game stuff. All very good, all good fun. So you can play extraction on Jabba's Palace and on Kessel. And you also get the Lando and Han skins from Solo film. So, all good on the game front.
Do you get the Chewie skin?
You get the Chewie skin as well.
From Solo?
Yeah.
The 2 bandoliers.
2 bandoliers and goggles.
Wow.
Can I ask a question, gentlemen?
Uh-huh.
Yeah. As a computer game novice, not even novice, I just don't own a console. If someone was interested in delving into the world of Star Wars computer games, because I've always liked the idea of flying an X-Wing, what console and what game would be the best to say, is there a game out there that allows you to say fly the Falcon and fly
that one
X-Wing and
Battlefront 2 is the game for you. You can get it on either Xbox, PlayStation, or you can get it on PC, and it's basically got it's got a lot of online modes where you're playing against other people and you will get killed really quickly, but they've also got arcade mode where you can do all the Starfighter assaults and play as the heroes all offline. So yeah, that's the game to play and dip your toe in. Because it's got, but what's great about the game, and I know a lot of people slagged it off, it's got a load to it. It's got a fairly short story mode to it, but it's got a story mode which is set through the course of the original trilogy and straight after it. It's got like I say, single player mode, but it's also got the online, and it's got hero mode. It's got a mode where you're playing as all the different infantries. So, if you do want to dip your toe into it,
and actually, to actually say something good about Battlefront 2, I really did enjoy the story mode. That was good. So that's worth playing. And my favourite part of it was the fighter assault. So where you're playing as TIE fighters or X-wings.
Oh, cool!
That was my favourite bit of it. The thing for me, and I think you've mentioned, Colin, recently they're looking to reintroduce it, is on the old PS2 version of Battlefront 2. You could be like your character in a Star Destroyer, for example. The battle started. You could run, get into a TIE fighter, fly out in space, do some battle, land in another ship, get out, start shooting people. And I loved that. And you couldn't do that on this one. You were just flying the ship.
That's what they're talking about for the season 3. Yeah, for the season 3 conquest mode, or whatever they're going to call it. It's going to be having a fight, then getting in a ship, going to attack a capital ship, get on the capital ship and board it, that kind of stuff. So
that's ace.
The fighter assault is good fun, definitely. That feels like you're in Star Wars when you're chasing down another ship. When the camera sits behind an X-wing that's chasing down a TIE fighter or something like that. You do actually feel like that, and especially when there's ships, like big ships below you, and you're flying down between them, and that stuff's really good.
And you can play as, like I say, hero ships. So you can play as a Falcon, Luke's X-wing, Boba Fett, Slave One, Darth.
And is it all scored by Williams?
It uses all the Star Wars music. Yeah, just uses all.
So if you're in the Millennium Falcon being chased by TIE fighters, you hear that dum 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 dum.
And when you're in the like when you're on a map in a certain place, you'll get the relevant music. So when you're on Bespin, you get the Bespin music.
Yeah.
It's all good.
So you might like it then. It might be worth checking out.
To be honest, I think for non-gamers that game is good because it's not the best. If you're fantastic at Call of Duty or those sort of games, then probably this isn't the best game because it's not as good as probably those games. But if you just like Star Wars, which I do, and you like playing in the Star Wars, it's like playing with toys, but you don't have to play with toys. And so that's why
I'm playing with toys.
Yeah, but you can play as the heroes on the heroes versus heroes mode, which is great fun. You're just Darth Vader choking Yoda. It's mad.
That's a euphemism for something.
Yeah, I was just about to say that. That's a good way to end it, I think.
I think that is a good way to end it. So, thank you for joining us today, Simon. Do you want to tell everyone about yourself, where they can find you, and what you've got coming up, or where you can be found? Any conventions or anything?
Oh, okay. Plug away. You can find me on Twitter @SiMyers. You can find me on Instagram, Pretty Funky. My website is prettyfunky.com. I'm going to be at Thought Bubble, Coventry Comic Con, and
London.
The Lakes.
And London Film and Comic Con.
Oh, and London Film and Comic Con, yeah. So you can find me there because Colin's my press secretary.
I've hit all of those pretty much, apart from the Lakes.
We're doing myself and my friend Nigel Hopkins. We do an event called the Drink and Draw, and they're all over the country. But we've got one that we run in Coventry and in Birmingham, and we have 200 or 300 people turn up at any one time, and they just buy beer, and we give them a piece of paper and a theme to drink to, and they just draw.
Oh, that's great.
The nights are wonderful.
When's your next one?
The next ones are in Coventry. There's one at the end of this month, the 30th, and then there's one on the 6th. They're both in Coventry. They're going to be announced online very shortly. So if you go to Facebook, just type in Drink and Draw. We're the first ones that come up. It's a little cartoon of a beer glass with a pencil. The best one that's coming up is we've been invited to Birmingham, to the Birmingham Museum and Art Gallery, to do a drink and draw around the dinosaur, because they've got the dinosaur from the British Museum there. The Natural History Museum.
Cool.
He's on tour. So we're doing a dinosaur drink and draw, and that'll be family friendly. So that should be really, really good fun.
Excellent.
Brilliant. Jay, we might need to pop along now. Soon.
Yeah, well, I'll have to see what I can and can't do in the coming weeks.
Yeah, Jay's about to have a baby, Simon.
Well, no, my wife is.
It's due today, isn't it?
No, she was due on Saturday, just gone.
Okay.
So,
congratulations.
Thank you.
Well, I look forward to meeting either Luke or Leo when they're born.
Yeah, well, I don't know if I've got it here. I got a little baby grow for her. It's not here. I got one that says "The Force is strong" in this one, and I've got another one that says "Future Jedi Master."
Nice.
Right.
Cool.
So, where can they find us? You can find us on the Star Wars Conversation Facebook group. We're also on Twitter at Star Wars Convo or # Star Wars Convo. We're on Instagram on # Star Wars Convo as well, or at Star Wars Convo. You can find Colin at
Captain Colin,
and you can find me on Twitter at 1933 Eagles. And we're also on SoundCloud, iTunes, Stitcher. One of them's going soon, right?
I can't be bothered to get rid of it.
Okay,
I just keep paying for it. I just keep paying for it.
Keep paying for it.
But the most important place you can find us is the Taylor Network of Podcasts, the one-stop shop website, podcast feed that you can get on all those other places, where there's loads and loads of different podcasts, all geeky, sort of film related, comic related. You've got Double Page Spread, which Wendy does great interviews. You've got Gotham by Geek. You've got Go Trek Yourself. You've got the TARDIS podcast, which is probably the best one on there, apart from Star Wars Conversations. There's some really great ones on there, so check out that feed and listen to some of those other great podcasts, because they're all super great. Oh, hey. Nothing's On. Don't forget Nothing's On. That's the best one.
Of course. It's not the best one. It's the third best one.
Third best one, sorry, yeah. The TARDIS one's really good. Listen to that. Simon, you have to come on with TARDIS next, since you're Doctor Who artist as well.
Yeah, that would be great. I would love to.
There you go, booked. Right, that'll do it for us. So thank you for joining us again, Simon. Everyone go and check him out on Twitter and all the other places he told you, his website, Pretty Funky. And until next time,
punch it, Chewie.
May the Force be with you.